There was a lot of things that I didn't know because, surprisingly, as an artist, I've not approached a gallery with an idea for an exhibition before, so I took a great deal from the meeting, and I was very surprised how simple it is.
So it was quite informative to hear how things are funded often by artists when they're approaching a gallery about a solo show.
It's really exciting, and it's got lots and lots of possibilities. If I could get accepted in something like that, then it would add to my portfolio really, really well.
Artists want to get their work into galleries. Art galleries want artists to provide them with their artwork. 80,000 people visit Salford's Public Art Gallery every year to look at artworks. My name's Jessica Symons. I'm an anthropologist at the University of Salford, and I'm doing research into creative processes. I want people to understand how the art world works. So I took a group of artists to Salford Art Gallery to meet an exhibitions coordinator to find out how they could get their work in for a solo show.
My name is David Lowther. I'm an artist. I come from Salford and have a studio in central Manchester. Most of my work is influenced by the city and the sites around me. I do a lot of urban sketching, which is going around and drawing live, not from photographs. And at the moment I'm working on mark making.
Hello, my name is Lloyd. I'm a visual artist based at Artwork Atelier in Salford. I work predominantly with paper, although that started to branch out quite a bit in recent years. I initially was drawn to text because of the sculptures that I was producing in books. I was slicing through lines of text, and that made me quite fascinated with language, and that's something that I've adopted as one of my main themes now.
My name's Hignett. I'm a Salford-based artist. I work mainly with textiles, and it's taken me a while to decide, to understand what my work's about, but more recently I've realised my work is about protection. So hence I've got pieces of work around protecting memory, really interested in the things that we attach memory to as a way of trying to protect it.
So I'm Amy Goodwin, I'm the Exhibitions Officer for Salford Community Leisure. The Salford Museum and Art Gallery is one of the main cultural venues within Salford. We house a really big collection here, mainly of social history objects, but a lot of it is very important to the people of Salford.
It sounds like you artists need to be really entrepreneurial, don't they, in terms of finding sponsors, finding the money, putting the whole thing together and coming to you really with just a package and saying, here's my art package, I've done everything, all you need to do is put it in your gallery. And that's probably your ideal scenario, is that?
I think a lot of galleries is probably their ideal scenario because people that work in galleries don't have a lot of capacity, so that when we're working on, say, 15 at least exhibitions a year, so at any one time I'll be working on 10 exhibitions, so it's thinking about making it the life of the gallery easier as well will work in your favour. I would encourage applying to different places, but go and visit them and see what you can relate your work to. And the other thing about applying to different places is making sure that it doesn't come across that you're just applying to everywhere as well. So find something within that gallery that you're interested in that you can link your work to. So
A bit like sending out CVs.
Yeah.
If you send out a blanket one, it doesn't fit everybody, whereas if you tailor it slightly.
I suppose the only issue might be, in terms of an application for an exhibition, is getting that story across that your work is about. So when we read the and I suppose this is for your work as well, Emma, when we're reading the applications, if it doesn't make any sense to us, then we can't see how it's going to make sense to our audiences.
Sort of chicken and egg, do I come to you and say, I've made 30 pieces on this theme, and can I put them in your gallery? Or do I go to you and say, I'm thinking of applying for Arts Council funding to make 30 pieces, and I need somewhere to display, and it's based on research from Salford Local History Library. I think it would fit. Chicken and egg, which do I do?
We're quite used to some applications coming in, and that they do say that it is dependent on Arts Council funding. So I would say probably approach the venue first, and try and get some interested venues before. I mean, you can sort of do it at the same time, because I think the Arts Council are used to artists saying, I've not quite got a venue yet, but this one's interested in principle. But then obviously it's a big risk to us if we take it and book it in for a slot and then the funding doesn't happen, because then we've got an empty slot. So I think it's giving us as much information as well that you can with the application, and maybe if you've got any plan Bs in case you don't get the funding, is there something that we could still show, or is the whole thing dependent on the funding?
Do you apply for funding?
Never.
And you don't know the process, but do you fund your own work effectively?
Yeah. Yeah.
So would you want to apply for funding?
That'd be very nice if somebody wanted to give me some money, obviously, but it's not something that's ever occurred to me to do. Maybe if I had the possibility of doing a big exhibition, because framing isn't cheap, but I've never thought about asking anybody else to help me with that. I just sell work and then the money goes towards the next piece, that kind of thing, like a lot of people. But funding, no, it's not something that's occurred to me.
So basically, I'll tell you a bit about how the selection panel runs. So we all get together every 6 months. I bring all the applications along, and we look at them based on the content. So that's basically to make sure that within the programme, because we do have quite a lot of changing exhibitions, that there's a balance in stuff as well, so that we like to have some artistic exhibitions, but then maybe some that reflect on local history as well, or something that ties into our collections, or something that ties into a national event that's going on. The education and creativity, again, so that's just to make sure that we can tie it into our learning programme somehow, if that's a possibility. Target audiences again, so families are a very big audience, so each summer we try and have an exhibition that really targets families, so there's lots of stuff for kids to do in there, and that's probably about it. So it's the integrity as well and the quality of the work we look at too. And the exhibitions, we work on them, so it's at least a year to 2 years from you putting your application in. You wouldn't get a space till at least a year, 18 months probably. So once the selection panel have said, yes, that's great, we can have that one, I then work with the artist, and that's where the planning meetings come in. So once your proposal's been accepted, you would then come down and meet with me, probably the technician, or we'd come to you and we'd look at your work in more detail, and all those issues then would come up.
With regard to having lots of kit, would it be something that the gallery sort of assists with? Is there kit that you sort of hire from the gallery, or would it be the artist that has to find that, or how does that work exactly?
At the gallery, we have very limited equipment.
Yeah.
So it's something we help with if we can, but we can't always help with it. But then if people are bringing in their own equipment, everything needs to be pack tested.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the gallery space, so that if you are thinking of having sort of separate areas or maybe a dark space to show the projection, that would be something that we would need to build.
Yeah, that's the next question actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah. About with construction sort of work, is that like working partnership? But yeah, you build it then, okay.
Yeah, we have a technician,
Right.
but we do only have one. But they, because of health and safety, they would install everything. That applies to everybody.
Yeah.
They install all the work after on-site planning and stuff with the artist. But if they have to build specific areas, it's the cost of the material and the time as well to build the items that we would consider as part of the selection as well. Because of the cost, everything needs to come ready to display. So for your work example, as an example, it would all need to be framed, or if it's canvas, as canvases, and also mirror plated as well. The usual opening event is drinks, basically. So if the event is within the gallery's opening times, it's of no cost to you. If you want it in an evening or a time when we're not open, we do have to charge a higher fee because we've got to cover staff costs for people to open up the building. But we usually have them a Saturday afternoon and they've worked fine. And then it's up to the artist. If you want to provide a lot for your guests, you can do, but it would come out of your pocket. Some just bring a couple of boxes of wine and that's fine. Usually for each exhibition we'll develop a design for a poster and an invite, and we'll get a number of those printed that are shared between us and yourselves. And the more successful exhibitions are when the artist is very proactive about marketing the exhibition themselves.
When you were mentioning the promotional material, does that include things like catalogues, or would that be the artist's responsibility to produce those?
The catalogues would be up to the artist to produce. Obviously, it's a good thing to do if you are able to do it.
How about sponsorship?
Sponsorship, again, it would be up to the artist to approach people for sponsorship, but we're quite happy for things to be sponsored. We're quite happy to work with the artist and the sponsor to make sure that the sponsor gets what they want out of it as well.
Okay.
If you have some kind of international exhibition that you've done, then that raises UK attention on UK artists, as if you've gone abroad.
Yeah.
So if somebody came to you and said, well, I'm interested in doing something, but would you have some contacts?
Yeah, I'd be quite happy to recommend somebody to somebody. If the artist is particularly interested in a gallery that I've got a contact in, I'm quite happy to recommend people.
And do you do references as well then?
Yeah, and we can do letters of support as well. So for funding applications, you'll need a letter of support from an interested gallery, so we can do things like that.
Do you find when people at exhibitions, people like yourself from other galleries come and have a look around and sort of...
Yeah, and again, it's something I'd encourage the artists to do. So if you are particularly interested in exhibiting in another gallery and you do have an exhibition somewhere, invite them down and meet them and show them your exhibition. And
so there we have it. If people understand how things work better, then they can engage better and they can actually change how things work. This is the story of one art gallery and how people could get their work into it. But if you want to know how to get your work into an art gallery, then just ring them up and ask them. Ask them what the process is for how to go about doing it. At the end of the day, an artist needs to be an entrepreneur who goes out there and makes things happen for themselves.